मित्रों नमस्कार। अपने बीच भारतीय जनता पार्टी के वरिष्ठ नेता केंद्रीय विदेश मंत्री माननीय एस जयशंकर जी आपको संबोधित करेंगे। मेरा विनम्र निवेदन है माननीय जयशंकर जी से कि आपको संबोधित करें।
Good morning to all of you. I know it's a little bit early, so thank you for making the effort. Today's press conference is about the Katchatheeevu issue and also the situation of Tamil fishermen which arises from it. Now, maybe all of you may not be completely familiar with Katchatheeevu, the whole problem. So let me first explain what the issue is, and then I want to tell you today what has really transpired, which has created the issue, and why that issue is today relevant to all of us. Why are we debating it today? In 1974, India and Sri Lanka, in June 1974, concluded an agreement where they drew their maritime boundary. And in drawing the maritime boundary, Katchatheeevu was put on the Sri Lankan side of the boundary. This agreement of 1974 had three other clauses. One clause which said that each country shall have sovereignty and exclusive jurisdiction and control over the waters. The second clause, Article 5, it gave to Indian fishermen that they will continue to access Katchatheeevu as hitherto and will not be required to obtain travel documents. And the third one, that the vessels of India and Sri Lanka will enjoy in each other's waters such rights that they have traditionally enjoyed. So this was the agreement which was reached in 1974 in June. Now, when this agreement was presented before Parliament, the then Foreign Minister, Sri Swaran Singh ji, he actually assured the Parliament, and I'm reading his words, I feel confident that the agreement demarcating the maritime boundary in the Pork Bay will be considered as fair, just, and equitable to both countries. At the same time, I wish to remind the honorable members that in concluding this agreement, the rights of fishing, please note, the rights of fishing, pilgrimage, and navigation, which both sides have enjoyed in the past, have been fully safeguarded for the future. This was the assurance that the then Foreign Minister, Sri Swaran Singh ji, gave in Parliament at that time. 1974, July 23, 1974. Now, in less than 2 years, actually, there was another agreement between India and Sri Lanka through an exchange of letters. And in this agreement, now India proposed the following. Again, I'm reading to you from the original document. With the establishment of the exclusive economic zones by the two countries, India and Sri Lanka will exercise sovereign rights over the living and non-living resources of their respective zones. The fishing vessels and fishermen of India shall not engage in fishing in the historic waters, the territorial sea, and the exclusive zone of Sri Lanka. So, 1974, assurance is given. By 1976, an agreement is concluded, which actually gives away this assurance. Now, once this agreement in 1976 was concluded, there then evolved a position, a standard position, you can say, of the government on this matter. And I'm reading to you an example. This is from 2006. It is a question which is answered by the then Minister E. Ahmed on the floor of the Parliament. And he says, Mr. Ahmed, the 1974 agreement on the demarcation of the international maritime boundary line between India and Sri Lanka, as also the exchange of letters of 1976 on this issue of fishing rights, stipulate that the fishing vessels and fishermen of India shall not engage in fishing in the historic waters, territorial seas, and the EEZ of Sri Lanka. So this is now the position which is taken by the government as a regular position. I am only giving you one example from 2006. So what has happened? What has been the consequence of this? In the last 20 years, 6,184 Indian fishermen have been detained by Sri Lanka. 6,184. And in the same period, 1,175 fishing vessels, Indian fishing vessels, have been seized, detained, apprehended by the Sri Lankans. So this is really today the background. This is the issue that we are discussing. Now you can ask, why are we discussing it? And the answer is, in the last 5 years, in the parliament, in the consultative committee, we have repeatedly, this issue, Katchatheeevu issue and the fishermen's issue, has been repeatedly raised by various parties, by all parties, I would say. As I mentioned, in parliament, it has come up as parliament question. It has come up in debates. It has been raised in the consultative committee. And in fact, Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu has written to me numerous times. And my record shows that to the current Chief Minister, I have myself replied 21 times on this issue. So please understand, this is not an issue which has suddenly surfaced. This is a live issue. It is an issue which has been very much debated in Parliament, in Tamil Nadu circles as well. It has been the subject of correspondence between the union government and the state government. And as I said, 21 times I have myself replied to letters. Now, every political party in Tamil Nadu has taken a position on this. And here, one of the reasons why we are debating it is, in looking at these two issues, the Katchatheeevu issue and the fishermen issue, two parties, the Congress and the DMK, have approached this matter as though they have no responsibility for it, as though the situation is for central government, today's central government, for them to resolve. There is no history to this. This has just happened. They are the people who are taking up the cause. That is the way they would like to project it. So the purpose of the press conference today, why I am talking to all of you, is we believe that the public has a right to know. The public has a right to know, how did this situation come about? How was Katchatheeevu, how was the 1974 agreement reached? How was Katchatheeevu given away? How was the fishing issue handled? Because please understand, the fishing issue actually emanated from a 1976 agreement. So there are two agreements we are talking about. So because these have been live issues, because they have been discussed earlier also in Parliament, two documents were sought from us as an RTI request. And these were provided. One was a document about Ministry of External Affairs, summary background note for the meeting of the Informal Consultative Committee in 1968 on this issue. And the second was a record of discussion of a meeting between the then Foreign Secretary and the then Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Honorable Kalaignar Karunanidhi, in June 1974. Now, the point today is, we know there are two agreements. We know there's a 1974 agreement. We know there is a 1976 agreement. We know who did this. How has the situation arisen? What we do not know is who hid this, who has been party to it, what has been concealed from the public, and we believe it is the right of the public today to know how did this situation come about. Now, with regard to the Katchatheeevu issue itself, there have been claims and counterclaims. India had its arguments. Sri Lanka had its arguments. In fact, in one of the two documents, both documents actually, but one has more detail than the other. These claims have been spelled out in some detail. India's claim is mainly that the Katchatheeevu island belonged to the Raja of Ramnath, and that he had it from the time that East India Company assigned it to him. It was part of his zamindari rights, and these rights also included fishery, and also that later on these rights moved from the Raja of Ramnath to the Madras government. The second argument was that during after independence, for many years, Indian customs regularly went to Katchatheeevu, and this was not obstructed. And the Indian view also was that there was absence of any documentary evidence to show that Sri Lanka had an original title to Katchatheeevu. So these were largely the Indian arguments. The Sri Lankan argument, which also this document, which has been obtained under RTI, has released, was that according to them, they have records which go back to the 17th century, and that they also feel there were some conferences where which looked at their claim in a more positive manner. This is their claim. Now, what actually happened on Katchatheeevu was, after both India and Sri Lanka became independent, there were issues between the military of the two countries about using this island. And that's how this issue actually came up as an issue between the governments. And from the 1960s, this issue picked up. And it was particularly discussed. There were many discussions, but I think the most important one was a discussion in 1974, few months before the Katchatheeevu agreement was done, when the then Sri Lankan Prime Minister, Sirimavo Bandaranaike, came and met Indira Gandhi ji, who was then Prime Minister of India. So this broadly is the issue. These are the claims. But as I said, we know who did it. We are today looking and discussing who hid it. Now, in all of this, whenever there is a territorial dispute, it is natural that there is a request. You take a legal view of what is the claim. So at this time, the legal view was actually originally sought from the then Attorney General of India, Shri M.C. Setalvad. Many of you would be familiar. He was a very famous person. He was a legal luminary. Now, it's very interesting. Shri Setalvad gave his legal opinion as the Attorney General in 1958. In that opinion, he says, the matter, and I'm reading from it, the matter is by no means clear or free from difficulty, but on the assessment of the whole evidence, it appears to me that the balance lies in favor of concluding that the sovereignty of the island was and is in India. So this is the opinion of the then Attorney General. In fact, he not only mentions that, he also says, because please note, he says that the matter is by no means clear. He says whatever is agreed, it can also be limited by custom or treaty, and therefore Mr. Setalvad suggests that it may be possible for India to contend that there exists a right by custom in the Indian fishermen to fish in the territorial waters of the island. So essentially, the Attorney General is saying that the balance of the balance is something which goes in favor of India. But even if it doesn't, there is still a case. There is still a case to insist on fishing rights, access of Indian fishermen to this to the waters of this island. Now, interestingly, other than the Attorney General, you know, the Ministry of External Affairs also has a legal department. So we had a gentleman there at that time called Dr. K. Krishna Rao. He was a very eminent person dealing with international law. And Mr. K. Krishna Rao also takes a very interesting view. He says, I'm not suggesting that we have no case at all, but I submit that our legal case in this connection may be used to obtain fishing rights around the island. So what we have essentially is, you have the main legal people, and please bear in mind, we are talking 1958 and 1960. The main people actually saying, look, we have a case. It may not be 100% case. We don't know where this case may go, but at least we should insist minimum that we should get fishing rights. And as I told you at the beginning, the island was also given away in 1974, and the fishing rights were also given away in 76. And whether in 74 itself, was there any sincere effort to press for fishing rights? I think I'll leave it to you to conclude, because 1976 shows otherwise. Now, if this is the situation, you will ask, how did this happen? Now, how did this happen has many aspects to it. One, and perhaps to me the most basic, I would say recurring one, is actually the indifference shown by the central government, by the prime ministers of the day then, about the territory of India. That fact is, they simply did not care. And to demonstrate that, I think if one looks at, again, this is there in one of the documents of the released under RTI. This is an observation by the then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru in May of 1961. He says, he writes, I attach no importance at all to this little island, and I would have no hesitation in giving up our claim to it. I do not like matters like this pending indefinitely and being raised again and again in Parliament. So, to Pandit Nehru, this was a little island. It had no importance. He saw it as a nuisance. Why are people bringing it up again and again in Parliament? So, for him, the sooner you give it away, the better. Now, you can say, okay, this was Pandit Nehru's view. Now, I want to read to you. Actually, this was not just Pandit Nehru's view. This view continued on to Indira Gandhi ji as well. So, it's very interesting. If one goes through the records of Parliament, we are now looking, I'm fast forwarding it to the time when Katchatheeevu agreement is done. There is a member of Parliament called G. Vishwanathan from Tamil Nadu. And he says, this is I'm quoting from Parliament records. We are worried about Diego Garcia, thousands of miles away from Indian territory, but we are not worried about this small island. When we speak of it, the Prime Minister, he's talking about Indira Gandhi ji, the Prime Minister is said to have remarked in the AICC meeting that this is a little rock. I am reminded of those days when Pandit Nehru called about our northern boundary as a place where not a blade of grass grew. I would like to remind the Prime Minister that after this historic statement by Prime Minister Nehru, Pandit Nehru never regained the confidence of the country. This is going to happen to the Prime Minister when she says this is only a little rock and that there is nothing to worry about the territories of our country. So, as you can see, this is not just one Prime Minister, whether it was Pandit Nehru or whether it was Indira Gandhi. This very dismissive attitude, this little rock, this small island of no importance, this was the historic Congress attitude towards Katchatheevu. Now, again, please don't think it's an individual view. This was actually, in a way, had seeped into the party thinking. So, I will give you another example of it. Same time, there was a very well-known Congress leader. All of you are familiar with his name. He was from Delhi, called HKL Bhagat. Now, HKL Bhagat is reacting in the same Katchatheevu debate. So he says, and I'm quoting from the parliamentary record, he says, my honorable friend from the DMK was just now talking about Katchatheevu, the island. It appears to me that the DMK thinks that probably they can desperately cling to this issue and survive in Tamil Nadu. The Jaishankar at one time thought they could survive by clinging on to Kutch, but they failed. The DMK is also bound to fail because people of India and the people of Tamil Nadu are mature enough to see that it is in the interest of India, a big and great country, to keep her neighbors, particularly her small neighbors, satisfied. So please appreciate today how strong, how deep, how pervasive this thinking was. For them sitting in Delhi, this island, this small rock, this island of no importance, this did not matter. It was an inconvenience to be given away so that they, in their minds, could actually not just have good relations with a neighbor. They found it irritating. It was coming up in parliament. For them, it was a headache. So they saw the territory of India. And when someone says Jaishankar also had the same view, yes, there were parties for whom every millimeter of Indian territory mattered. Apparently, there were parties to whom even large tracts of Indian territory, as we saw in Aksai Chin, did not matter. Now, so far, I have spoken about what was the approach of the central government and of the Congress party. But you have to ask yourself, would it have been possible if there was no connivance at the state level? Now, since 1974, we have heard protestations from the state government, then state government, from the DMK. As I pointed out, I get so many letters even now from the Chief Minister of the DMK. So I want to now turn the focus to the second document of the RTI. This is a document which is a record of a meeting on 19 June 1974, which is held in Fort St. George, the Secretariat, Tamil Nadu Secretariat conference room, where the Foreign Secretary, accompanied by the Director of the Historical Division, he calls on the then Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Kalaignar Karunanidhi, and present there are the Tamil Nadu Chief Secretary, gentleman called P. Sabanayakam, and the Home Secretary, a gentleman called S.P. Ambrose. Now, I want to share with you the relevant part of this, because this will now answer the question. Not just the question who did it, but the question who hid it also. After the exchange of courtesies, Foreign Secretary, recalling the talks he had in New Delhi with the Chief Minister in 13th October 1973. So please note, we are talking 19 June 74. So talks have been going on between the Foreign Ministry, Union Government, and the Chief Minister from 1973. So, recalling 13th October 1973 and with the Chief Minister, Secretary and other officials of Tamil Nadu in Madras on 14th October 1973, before the Indo-Sri Lanka official level talks in Colombo on 15-16 October 1973. So, the key point is, 1 year before the Katchatheeevu agreement, already then union government and then state government led by DMK were already, the chief minister, up to the level of chief minister, were already discussing this agreement. And they're discussing this agreement before they actually go into talks with Sri Lanka. Now, then it says, Foreign Secretary said, the purpose was to keep the Tamil Nadu government fully informed. Please note these words, fully informed of the developments in the talks with Sri Lanka and get the benefit of the views and negotiations of the Tamil Nadu, views and suggestions of the Tamil Nadu authorities. So this is actually the truth. The truth is, for a party which has been saying, how was Katchatheeevu given away? How was state government not consulted? How could the union government have done this? The fact is that actually there were consultations going on. They were kept fully informed. And please, when you hear the rest of it, you will see that it is much more than this. So I'm now reading another part of the document. Foreign Secretary then said that he had the authority of the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister to put forward to the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu for his consideration a compromise proposal which would divide the historic waters in the Park Bay. So here it is. It is not even that they are being informed after the event. They are actually being consulted 1 year ahead. The key proposal is now actually being put forward to the Chief Minister. And the Foreign Secretary then proceeds, the next paragraph will show, he proceeds to explain this in great length. Now, at the end of the conversation, again, I'm quoting from the document. On the substance of the proposal, the Chief Minister indicated that he was inclined to accept the suggested solution. Then it goes on. The Chief Minister, having once again signified his general acceptance of the suggested solution, said that for obvious political reasons, he could not be expected to take a public stand in favor of it. The Chief Minister, however, assured Foreign Secretary that he will help keep the reaction at a low key and will not allow it to be played up. The Foreign Secretary appreciated this gesture and stressed that nothing should be done to embarrass the central government or turn this affair into an issue between the center and the state. So, the fact is, we know today actually not just who did it, but also who hid it, who were all the parties who were responsible for the 1974 Katchatheeevu agreement. Also, how the fishing rights were terminated in 1976. So, if we have today a situation, as I shared with all of you, that in the last 20 years, if 6,184 fishermen were detained, if 1,175 boats were detained, you all know who is responsible. So, for today, it is important for the public to know, it is important for the people to judge. This issue has actually been hidden too long from the gaze of the public. So, we believe today that, at a time when there are big debates and decisions going on in this country, that the full truth on Katchatheeevu and on Tamil fishermen's activities and right of living should be placed before the public. That was the purpose for this press conference. I thank you for your attention and listening to me. Payal, no, I don't think it is a question of feeling nervous. On the contrary, I think anybody who has seen the Prime Minister's road shows will see the upsurge and the enthusiasm in Tamil Nadu. It is being raised because it has been very much a public issue. I mean, as I said, look, 5 years. I myself have written 21 times to the Chief Minister Stalin of Tamil Nadu. Every meeting, please look at the parliament records. You know, anything, there was a discussion even on an anti-piracy legislation. The DMK members stood up immediately and said, Katchatheeevu, Tamil Nadu fishermen, we support it. But they should take responsibility for the actions of, their leader and their party and the state government which they led. And so should the Congress. I mean, if their policies, their conscious decisions and things which they had as a deal between them, if this deal led to this situation, they should own up to it. And why am I bringing it up? I am bringing it up today because fishermen are still being detained. Boats are still being apprehended. Issue is still being raised in parliament. But it's being raised in parliament by two parties who actually did it and say, oh, I had nothing to do with this. So I think the truth must come out. No, sorry, your question is on this topic? Let me take the question on the topic. No. Excuse me. Whenever there was an arrest, how do you think the people got released? They got released due to our efforts. I have myself, Prime Minister has taken it up with the President of Sri Lanka, with the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. I have taken it up with my counterparts. Our embassy is working on it. So, it's very good to give statements from Chennai. The people who do the work are us. And we are doing the work because of a situation which people in Chennai and then people in Delhi put us into. So this is not a question of condemning it. We are the people who get the fishermen released. We are the people who got the boats back. So let's get the record straight. So please. No, wait. First, let's take questions on this topic. I think if you look at the 1974 agreement, that agreement there's nothing in that agreement which shows that there is any other benefit other than what is there in the agreement. See, what is very troubling? What is troubling is, okay, there was a 1974 agreement. You know the controversy about that. You all know that this matter has gone to Supreme Court. It is sub judice out there. Then, after giving assurance in 1974 that nothing has actually changed, in less than 2 years, actually the fishing rights change. Okay. Then, okay, now two things have happened. After that, to pretend that I have nothing to do with this, that, somehow the government of the day has to deal with it. I mean, this gentleman is asking me, why Prime Minister and you have not condemned it. Look at the people who created the problem in the first place. They are washing their hands of it as though they had nothing to do with it. We are the people who today are facing the consequences and trying to help the fishermen of Tamil Nadu.
Sir, the economic impact, almost 50 years, 48 years to be precise, since actually this happened, this deal was signed. What has been the economic impact? And you have already talked about the boats and the people there who have been arrested and taken out of the from that issue.
See, what has happened is these agreements, these agreements have been done. Okay. The result of these agreements today is a situation which is a source of great concern. Okay. Now, what is important for people to know is how did the situation come about? Who is responsible for it? So that we can now find solutions. We have to find a solution. We have to find a solution to the livelihood pressures on Tamil Nadu fishermen. We have to find it. Obviously, it has to be something that we'll have to sit down and work out with the Sri Lankan government as well. And in fact, we have made great efforts. On the contrary, this government has tried to support them through various schemes by giving them, support for long liners, which will take them further away into the sea, by trying to support the fishing industry out there, by trying, wherever there is an apprehension, by working out procedures and getting them back. So we have given, 100% support and more for the fishermen. But somewhere we have to be honest about how this situation came about. And I think particularly because people are politically posturing, the same people who connived at all this are today standing up and trying to pretend to be champions of this fishermen.
आनंद पांडे टीवी 9।
सर ये मामला तनाव उठाया जा रहा है पहले की सरकारों ने ठीक है कर दिया तो क्या अब उस आइलैंड को फिर से वापस लिया जा सकता है और चुनाव के बाद क्या सरकार जो है वो उसको वापस लेने की कोशिश करेगी सरकार बातचीत करेगी समिति वालों से।
See, the issue, you again know, there are two writ petitions pending before the Honorable Supreme Court. So when a matter is sub judice, nobody speculates on this matter. Today, the issue is how did we arrive at this point? Who has the responsibility? And who is hiding what? People should know. So what will happen in the future? I think, as I said, matter is sub judice.
So today Prime Minister Narendra Modi has tweeted and he also attacked BJP on this issue. He has stated that BJP and Congress are on the same page when it comes to the giving away of Katchatheeevu Island and how they only work for their family. And he's quoted reports that how then Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu Karnataka was taken into confidence by Indira Gandhi to give away this particular island.
Mhm. In fact, the Prime Minister is referring to exactly the matter which I have spoken about in great detail. The question of, the meeting which took place in June, the continuous contacts and the full information which was given to Tamil Nadu government from 1973 onwards. The fact that they were consulted before the official talks took place with Sri Lanka. The fact that the Chief Minister was asked whether what was called the compromise solution was placed before him. The fact is he gave his assent to it. So all this is today a matter of public knowledge. So the reality stands, in the glare of sunlight, that the right to information has shown to the people of Tamil Nadu that actually the DMK very much connived with the Congress party in 1974 and thereafter in creating the situation which has happened.
Sir, why did then Chief Minister Karnataka accepted to give the rights of Katchatheeevu to Sri Lanka? Is there any political pressure or is there any reason?
You should ask DMK that question, no?
Sir, do you have any updates on the number of Indians still left in the Russia-Ukraine war?
In what?
Russia-Ukraine war was yesterday also.
Oh, okay. So this is not, I'll come to your question. Oh, anybody else on this question? Ah.
area of Katchatheeevu is 149 square kilometer. It was Indira Gandhi who rescued 6 lakh Sri Lankan communities and gave them freedom and a new life. How is it?
No, I think frankly, this is a cover up for something which was done. You know, if there was any such consideration, we would see it in the records. The record is very clear. What does the record say? The record says Pandit Nehru said that this is a small island of no importance. The record says Indira Gandhi said this is a little rock which doesn't matter. First you say it doesn't matter. Now you claim that you actually got something for it. There's nothing to show that.
So there's no doubt whatsoever that we are approaching the poll season. Through this press conference, through the document that we released, what is the message that the BJP is trying to give to the people of Tamil Nadu vis-a-vis political impact?
No, look, I think it is important for the people of Tamil Nadu to know the truth about a very emotive issue on which the public has been misled for many, many years. The purpose, there is only one and one purpose for this press conference. That purpose is the public has the right to know. The public in Tamil Nadu particularly has a right to know about an issue on which there has been so much debate in the last 50 years.
We need TV 18.
सर आपने बहुत अच्छे से इस मुद्दे को कच्चाथीवू का जो मुद्दा था उसे समझाया, लेकिन अब बीजेपी क्या चाहती है? कच्चाथीवू को वापस भारत में ले लेना चाहिए। बीजेपी का क्या चाहती है?
I have already answered that question. Huh? You already had two chances, please. Sorry? I think all of you are asking what I have already answered. Matter is sub judice before the Honorable Supreme Court. So let us do one thing. I think two of you had different questions. First she asked first. Please allow me. See, the US ambassador, as an ambassador, obviously will say what he thinks is the thinking of his government or the position of his government. I will say what is the position of my government. And the position of my government is that in this particular case, there have been certain information which has been provided to us, which we are investigating. And it is something we are investigating because we believe our own national security interests are involved in that investigation. So as and when we have something to say on that investigation, we would be very glad to speak about it. At this point of time, beyond the fact that there is an investigation going on, we have nothing more to say. So I think that gentleman right at the end. You know, I had the Ukrainian foreign minister in Delhi just 2 days, 3 days ago. And my understanding is, yes, there are some Indians, there are some people who are working there, some people who are studying there. There are different people who are doing different things. So there are some people who have chosen to go back. Again, I want to say, we had given advisories asking people not to put themselves at risk. I mean, that is our duty as a government, but there are people who have chosen to go back. But if there is any situation, see, the Modi Sarkar, through its entire record, wherever any Indian is under any trouble, we have always made it a point to ensure their security. So if there is somebody in a situation, my advice would be they should reach out to the embassy, and I'm sure the embassy would respond. Sorry? Yeah, I'll end with that. I think in that case, we have taken it up very, very strongly with the Russian government, and we are trying to get all these people back to India safely. The MES spokesman does his weekly press conference. Please let him earn his salary also. So I think Today, the purpose of my press conference was on one issue. And once again, I thank you all for making the effort to come to the morning.